Hi friends and welcome back to my channel, the ABCD of Intensive Care Medicine. In the next videos, we will try to understand the tests that are used to quantify the pulmonary functions, also known as the pulmonary function tests. The first category of tests that we are going to see are known as the static PFTs, or as we all know them to be, the lung volumes and capacities. Now to perform these tests, the subject is made to inhale and exhale through his mouth with the nose closed in a machine called a spirometer, and the volumes generated are charted on a graph. Initially, the patients do a normal ventilation. Now the patient is asked to inhale as deeply as possible. As we are doing the static tests, there is no time limit and hence the patient is not hurried. Then the patient is asked to exhale as completely as possible. But again, there is no time limit, so the patient is not asked to force the air. Then the patient again ventilates normally. So now that we have seen the graph, let us look what do these curves signify. The first volume that we see is known as the tidal volume, which is defined as the volume of air that is inhaled or exhaled during a normal quiet breathing. The normal value for this is about 500 ml or 6 to 8 ml per kg body weight. The next volume that we see is the inspiratory reserve volume. This is the maximum volume of air that can be inhaled after a normal respiration while at rest. The normal value is about 2000 ml to 3000 ml or about 40 to 50 ml per kg body weight. The next volume that we see is the expiratory reserve volume. This is the maximum value of air that can be exhaled after a normal quiet expiration. The normal value is about 1000 ml or 20 to 25 ml per kg body weight. The next volume that we see is the residual volume. Now to measure this volume, that is the volume remaining in the lungs at the end of a complete forced exhalation, special techniques need to be used known as the helium dilution, the nitrogen washout or the body plethysmography. Normally the residual volume is about 1500 ml or 20 to 30 ml per kg body weight. So these were the individual volumes. Now if we combine two or more, what we get are the capacities. The first capacity that we see is known as the inspiratory capacity, which is the sum of the tidal volume and the inspiratory reserve volume. This therefore can be defined as the maximum amount of air which can be inhaled after a normal expiration. Normally it is about 3500 ml. Now comes the capacity which is very important to us as an anesthetist or an intensivist. And this is the functional residual capacity, which can be defined as the volume of air remaining in the lungs at the end of a normal quiet exhalation. This is the sum of residual volume plus expiratory reserve volume and is usually about 2500 ml or about 30 to 40 ml per kg body weight. So what is the importance of this capacity? As the name suggests, this is the functional reserve, that is, the volume remaining in our lungs after every breath. So what's so special about this capacity? Before that, let us understand what it signifies. Say this is our alveoli, surrounded by the pulmonary blood vessels and filled with 75% of nitrogen, 14% of oxygen, 6% of water and 5% of carbon dioxide. Now let's imagine that this patient goes into apnea. This will be the air remaining in the alveoli from which the blood will be able to extract oxygen till the breathing is restored. This air contains about 1875 ml of nitrogen and only about 300 to 400 ml of oxygen and about the same volume of carbon dioxide plus water vapor. Now remember, though there is apnea, blood is flowing through the pulmonary circulation, exchanging oxygen for carbon dioxide at about 200 to 300 ml per minute. This means a patient breathing only air before going in apnea will have a reserve of only about 1 to 2 minutes. But if we replace this air with 100% oxygen, this reserve volume will be up to 2500 ml, giving a reserve time of about 6 to 8 minutes. And this here is the concept known as pre-oxygenation or denitrogenation, wherein a patient, before being intubated electively, is made to breathe 100% oxygen from a tight fitting mask for about 5 minutes or is asked to take about 4 to 5 full vital capacity breaths so that we can fill this capacity with 100% oxygen. So now what are the factors that affect this FRC? FRC is reduced by going from the upright posture to supine posture, sometimes by as much as 30%. Obese people have a less FRC than thin, lean people. Administering anesthesia reduces FRC by about 20% in a spontaneously breathing patient, while about 15% in a patient with artificial ventilation. This is due to changes in the chest wall shape and the diaphragmatic position. Diseases such as ARDS and pulmonary fibrosis also reduce the FRC. The thing that is known to increase the FRC is the administration of PEEP, as this prevents collapse of distal airways. This is a concept which we will come to in a later video. The techniques used to measure the FRC are same as those used to measure the residual volume, that is the helium dilution technique, the nitrogen washout method, and the body plethysmography. Alright then, back to the remaining capacities. The next capacity which we see is the vital capacity, and this is the volume of air that can be exhaled after a maximum inhalation. So basically it is the sum of the tidal volume, the inspiratory reserve volume, and the expiratory reserve volume. It is about 60 to 70 ml per kg and basically represents the maximum volume of air that a person can inhale. The final capacity is the total lung capacity, which is the volume of air in the lungs at the end of a maximum inhalation. And this is the combination of all the volumes or the vital capacity plus the residual volume. This is about 80 to 100 ml per kg body weight. So just to have a relook, these are the static volumes and capacities. Till this moment, the patient had no restriction on the timing on the inhalation and the exhalation. But what happens if we ask the patient to do a forceful exhalation? Here we will chart the volume on the y-axis and the time on the x-axis, and this is what the graph will look like. Now here the term vital capacity will be replaced with the term forced vital capacity, and the volume exhaled in each second is charted as the forced exhale volume in 1 second or FEV1 and etc. So now here, since it is the exhalation which is the more important, let us concentrate on that. And this is what the graph of exhalation will look like in a normal person with about more than 80% of exhalation taking place in the first second. And thus the FEV1 by FVC ratio will be more than 80%. So now what happens in a patient with a small airway obstruction? As we can see here, not only is the exhalation prolonged, but the volume exhaled in the first second is also pretty low, sometimes going as low as 30 to 40%, and thus the FEV1 by FVC ratio will be less than 75%. Now what we do here when the FEV1 by FVC ratio is less than 75% is that we recheck the FEV1 15 minutes after inhaled administration of a bronchodilator, usually salbutamol 200 mics, a test known as FEV1 reversibility with bronchodilators. An increase of more than 12% in the FEV1 is termed as positive. So these were the graphs of a normal person and a one with a small airway obstruction. Now in a person with restrictive diseases, this is what the graph looks like, where due to a smaller lung volume, the exhalation time is pretty less, and also majority of the exhalation gets over within the first second, giving a FEV1 by FVC ratio of more than 90%. So these were the static and the dynamic pulmonary function tests. But how do we interpret them? This table might help us. If we have a reduced FEV1, a reduced FVC, a low FEV1 by FVC ratio, but a normal or a high TLC, a high residual volume, a normal or a high FRC with more than 12% reversal of FEV1 by bronchodilators suggests that the patient most likely has asthma. A reduced FEV1, a normal or reduced FVC, a reduced FEV1 by FVC ratio, a normal or an increased TLC, an increased residual volume, and a normal or an increased FRC with partial or no reversibility of FEV1 with bronchodilators suggests COPD or emphysema. A reduced FEV1, FVC with a normal or a high FEV1 by FVC, a reduced TLC, RV, FRC suggests fibrotic lung diseases. A reduced FEV1, FVC with a normal or an increased FEV1 by FVC, a reduced TLC, normal or increased RV and a normal FRC suggests muscular weakness, while a reduced FEV1 FVC with a normal FEV1 by FVC ratio, a normal or a reduced RV and a low FRC suggests kyphoscoliosis. So now here we will end this video. In the next video, we will see the DLCO and its interpretation. If you have understood the video, please like and subscribe to my channel, the ABCD of Intensive Care Medicine, and press on the bell icon so that you will be notified of the future videos. Thank you.